So now we're going to demonstrate an artificial swarm. So, my God, I've inspected this hive and it's bursting with bees and there's lots of queen cells on the frame. So at this point I'm into swarm control, not swarm prevention. So an artificial swarm, basically, as the name implies, you simulate what a swarm would do. This is going to be the traditional method, and we suggest you modify it, but we'll do the traditional method first. We'll demonstrate what that is. So I've inspected the hive. There's lots of queen cells, the bees are bursting, there's perhaps lots of sealed brood in there about to hatch out, so quite a high number of bees and a low hatch. So I'm going to do an artificial swarm, and for that I need pretty much identical set of equipment. So let me just get that ready. The first thing we will do, we will move the hive from its original location on this side of the table to should have moved the entrance as well. Let me try and get that on. Let's shift it along. There we go, that's better. So we've just moved the hive to one side. So you can imagine this would be on a stand in the garden, okay? And then I'll quickly build, because I had all the equipment ready, didn't I? Because I plan ahead like a good beekeeper. I quickly build another replacement hive in the original location. Okay, at the moment probably a whole load of bees swarming around me. Okay, so for the moment that'll do. So old hive pushed to one side, new hive in the original location. So at this point I need to do some manipulations. You can imagine the flying bees now are getting confused because this is further apart, so a bit of a distance apart here, you can imagine. So the flying bees are coming back to here, but obviously I have the problem with the queen. So and I've got a super involved as well. So let's just take the super off. And goodness, is this heavy, full of honey. This is super off for the moment. I want to make sure really what happens in a real swarm is that the old queen goes away and they find a new home. So really the old queen has to go to the new home, which is this. So if I'm very good at queen finding, what I can do is find the queen and cage her temporarily, and then physically move the queen onto the new frames. Imagine all the flying bees are coming into this hive, and I can let the queen go into the new hive. If I'm nervous about doing that, finding the queen and caging her, what I can do, I'm pretty good at finding queens. I can look through the frames and see the twisting. I can look through the frames and see if I can find the queen. You never know, I might be lucky. Oh, here we go. Look, I found the queen. How about that? That's good, isn't it? She's on this frame. So what I can do if I'm nervous about handling the queen is put this frame with the queen, and there'll be some probably brood and eggs and bees, into the new hive. Okay, so now this hive that's left has got the non-flying bees and no queen. There is an alternative. Let's say I can't find the queen at all. What would I do? So if I make sure that each hive definitely has some eggs, what we've got to do is knock down the queen cells. If I make sure both hives have a frame of eggs, and then it doesn't really matter which hive the queen's in, because either hive, if it's queenless, can make another queen from the eggs. Okay, so and then in this new hive, what would I do? I pretty much I've got the queen in there now. I've got new frames, so I need to feed them because they need to draw out the new frames for me. So I put the crown board on with an eek or a super or an empty super, and I put my feeder on top of the crown board and put my roof on, and that's my new fresh hive. So the queen's in here with one frame of brood at the moment, and all the flying bees are going into this hive. So this hive that we've got left has got a load of drawn frames with the non-flying bees, let's say, mainly nurse bees. Okay, so with this one, because they haven't got any foragers, we don't necessarily have to have a queen excluder this time because there's no queen, but it's good practice to put it on anyway and put it the correct way up, because this is a national hive, so it's got bee space at the bottom. So bee space at the bottom, queen excluder on, old super on, crown board and roof. So this hive we could put anywhere else in the garden really at this point in time, because it's only got the non-flying bees here. We could quickly locate it somewhere else, and the bees come out of here and they'll go into the other hive. So why don't we move the super onto this new hive? Well, if you think about it, this hive doesn't have any foragers, so they can't get out and find any new source of nectar. So if we leave the super there, they definitely have got some stores to keep them going. This hive would primarily be drawing new frames. And do we really want to sacrifice a lot of honey in the super for drawing new frames? No. So that's why we give them the feeder with the 1-to-1 syrup in. So 1-to-1 syrup is 1 kilogram of sugar to 1.26 litres of water. But you can really do just about 1 kilogram to 1 litre. It is said that if you make the sugar solution too dilute, it can cause diarrhea in the bees. Okay, so err on the side of caution, maybe do 1 kilogram to 1 litre of water, and that'll be fine for them. They'll draw out the new frames, and as soon as they've drawn the new frames, stop feeding them, and life goes on as normal after that point. Okay.